Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful night, Monday night, Chewin the BBQ Fat. Glad to be here tonight. It's going to be a fun night. I apologize once again. We're late. That was all me. Have a small group on Monday nights, and it ran over. Joel, I think if you can turn your the volume down a little bit, I can hear it coming back. No problem. But here we go.
There we go.
There we go. That me? All right. Okay, there we go. Seems to be going now. I do small groups Monday night. It got cut off. I went a little long, so I apologize. But welcome everybody again. It's gonna be a great night. We've got two of the up and coming teams in the KCBS in the country. We've got the Midwest covered. We got the Southeast covered. We're going to get into a little bit of that tonight. It's going to be a good show. So, guys, I want to welcome to the show. I'm going to start with you, Joel. Joel Fleetwood with Meet Rushmore Barbecue. Welcome to the show. Glad you're on. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your team, where you're from, everything, all that. What you cook on also.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on, Brian. So I am Joel with Meet Rushmore Barbecue. We are from out of the Kansas City area. We cook obviously a lot in that area, but we try to travel around the region a little bit as well. We cook on Gateway Drum Smokers here in Kansas City, and in this area, it seems everybody's either on like a drum or a jambo, and so we are one of the drum teams.
Awesome. So how many drums do you cook on?
We have 5. We have 4 that we normally take that are the 55-gallon ones. We also have a 30-gallon that we bring anytime we do ancillaries, anything like that. So that's our baby drum.
So Chris wants to know why Katie's not on representing.
She should have been. She's the personality of the team.
It's awesome. So that's interesting. You bring up that about drums and jambos. That does seem to be the case. Can you go into a little bit, what's the biggest difference you've noticed in drums and in a stick burner?
Well, I've never cooked on something as good as a jambo for a stick burner. First of all, everybody kind of starts sometimes with the cheap offset Brinkmans and things like that, and those are a nightmare. And but the biggest advantage that I like from the drums is just that direct heat and just that what we call the can flavor from the fats dripping down onto the coals and doing all of its magic there.
Nice, awesome. And we have my good buddy, Sean. Sean from with Angry Jack.
Good evening.
You're not too angry.
I'm relaxed. I got the TV on, so I am gonna watch the game a little bit in the background and all that stuff. Yeah, Angry Jack out of Woodstock, Georgia, and I cook on everything. A little bit of all kinds of garbage comes out of the back of the trailer.
So what do you cook on? I mean, you can tell us. Do you cook on a can?
I got chicken on a can. I got ribs still on the Weber Smoky Mountain, the first cooker I ever got, and the backwoods for the big meats. So same setup. Haven't changed it up, but after the last couple of weeks, maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time. So that seems to be the whole thing here. Like, oh, no, I've had a couple bad cooks. I got to change. What does it take? Man, what's up, Tim? I can't wait to see you. We'll be leaving out Thursday. It'll be a fun time seeing you all out there. So, so why, Sean, do you have different smokers? Is there and you don't have, let me rephrase that question. What does each one of your smokers do differently?
That's a good question. I started out in the Smoky Mountain. That's what, when we started cooking and bringing, everyone brought one of everything, and that's what we all started out on. So the first few contests, everything was cooked on a WSM, a different one, but WSM. At some point got the backwoods, that was stepping up, or the next thing in a water cooker. And, I think it was we couldn't fit everything on one it's a party, right? It's a G2 party. Couldn't fit everything on there, so you had to bring something else. I honestly don't know. How do you get into that set? I don't totally remember, but
It sounds like you had a WSM, you started cooking with a WSM, and then you're like, oh, you know what? Let's go buy another cooker. So you went out and bought backwoods. And then you're like, hey, I'm going to keep my WSM and cook on the backwoods. And then all of a sudden you're like, everybody's got a drum.
I had it,
everybody's got cans. I got to get a can.
Got to get a can. And for some reason, started with chicken, and it took a little while, but finally got used to the high temp, dry heat, and that's just it's kind of stuck. Yeah. And I'm not one that makes changes real quickly. I'll tweak all day long, but not like wholesale changes. So I've kind of just stuck with it.
Nice. All right. So now that everybody knows who y'all are, you're already famous anyway, but I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Joel, tell me a little bit what's going on in your barbecue world here in the past couple of weeks.
Busy as can be. So we have cooked, I want to say, in the last 7 weeks, something like 9 contests. We actually have a week off from contests this week. So the one that was local canceled. Don't want to drive to Mississippi, and I have a wedding catering to do anyway. So we're going to kind of relax from some of the competition stuff this week before we get 4 in the last 3 weeks. So we've been running over everywhere, trying to do as well as we can in the team of the year race. And pork and ribs are doing pretty well, and brisket in the overall isn't far behind, and it's kind of still in the shooting match. So we're gonna try to run it to the end and see what we can do.
Nice. So I heard you had your first GC the other day.
We did. So last weekend, I guess, we were at the West Bottoms contest, which usually is down in the West Bottoms. If you're familiar where the American Royal used to be for a long time, it was down there. The health department, I guess there was some issues. Anyways, they had to relocate it to another town where the same organizer puts on another contest. And yeah, we got a 180 in pork and got a GC, our first one. So it was, they always say, or I've always heard people say, it comes when you least expect it. And that was the case. It was, in my opinion, that was not the best cook we've had all year. It was fine, but it was not in the top 3 or 4 probably cooks that we've had all year. But everything kind of lined up for us that day.
Nice. Sean, what about you? What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
It's kind of similar. It's been almost every weekend for the last month and a half, which is unusual. I'm trying to get as many in as I can before the end of the year, trying to within somewhat close proximity. I'm not outside of the Royal. I'm not somebody who's going to drive across the country. Just not going to happen for me. So I did Savannah, Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Nice contest. I mean, that's one that I would think about going back in the future. It was an easy drive from Atlanta. I think I was telling you that it was a different group of teams than, even though it was Tennessee, so not too far, but it was a different group of teams that I normally see in this area. So when I made the decision to cook, it was go up to a contest a couple hours away in North Carolina or go do that one, which was 5. I decided to do that one just simply because I wanted to go cook against some other teams. I mean, it was as simple as that. I'm glad I did. I cooked garbage. So I was probably happy to walk away with 12th or 13th or whatever it was. Happy with it because it was not my best stuff. And I still can't figure out why. It just cooked went fine, looked great, got to the table and tried it, and most of it was terrible. So guess that's the way it goes. And then this last week went down to Florida. This was a last minute decision. This was my version of chasing points. This was as close as I'm going to get to chasing. Last minute went down to Florida and thought I had a solid cook and got killed. And I hate barbecue. I hate everything right now. So long drive home. I was there's probably still tire marks from the gravel as I pulled out about 2 seconds after they announced GC. I was gone. That was it. Not happy. That's barbecue, right? I mean, which is for those that chase and go every weekend and that have ups and downs. I mean, much respect and God bless, because I left not happy. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do this for another month. So, I got Lions. That's Lions next week. That's one of my favorites. So looking forward to that. Whatever happens. But that might be it for the chase or whatever that means.
So let's talk about the chase. Joel, you told me how many contests do you normally cook a year?
We normally do 12 to 13.
Okay, Sean, what about you?
About the same. That's kind of it. We're kind of once a month or during the summer, maybe twice. But that I'm happy with 12 to 13. That works for me.
So both of you have talked about the chase, right? It's something if you've watched the chase, if you watch this show, I've been pushing on the barbecue chase because I think it's incredible to watch this year. A lot of things are going on. We got Chris Schaefer on, we got Aaron Stouffer on, we've got Sean, Joel, all these guys on, and see what's happening here with the chase. What was the decision for a team that cooks 12 to 13 times a year to jump in and go after the points?
Well, for us, it was a combination. So everybody, is aware, right, that everybody took 2.5 months off, right, when the barbecue season really should be kicking into gear. And then so we won the one contest we got in before that in pork, and we won then overall 3 out of the first 6. And I mean, it really just came. We had talked for a long time as a team about if we're ever in a situation where it makes sense to chase, like we're going to try and we're going to go for it. And, that doesn't mean next year we're going to probably go back to 15. I mean, that's the plan. But for this year, I think we all thought we were talking about it like in abstract, if I ever win the lottery, I'm going to do this and this. But it came true this year. So we really just kind of leaned in and we started cooking every week and did a couple of one really stupid double where we went from Lane, Kansas, all the way to Emmitsburg, Iowa, which if you're not familiar with the geography of the area, it was about 7 hours that we were driving on Saturday in between. I wouldn't recommend that anybody do that. It was, but we did it. And so we're always going to be able to have this year to say we tried. And I think that's the biggest piece that I get out of it is, yes, judging is weird this year. Yes, it was an abbreviated season. Yes. But when we got the opportunity, we did everything we could to seize it. And, if it doesn't work out and we tank this last month and, we're sitting around, cursing at each other, trying to figure out why it didn't go right, that's fine. 'Cause that's on us. That's not because we didn't cook enough. That's not because of judges. That's not because of anything other than we didn't cook well enough. And I can live with that to an extent because I can improve from that.
Yeah. Donnie Bray's on, everybody knows Donnie. He said he would cook 40 times a year. And Donnie was in the points chase every year. He was in the middle of it. Right. And that's what I think makes it so fun and special is seeing the good cooks from around the country be able to eat and do well and not.
Uh-oh.
At what point were you able to jump in and say, this is the year that I'm going for it?
Might have been for me. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Sean. Did I miss y'all? Did I mess up?
You're freezing
Yeah,
up. That's okay. So again, the word chase or anything it's just not on the radar. But it was after the first day at Augusta when it was my third on the year, and you pop open KCBS or whatever, and you start seeing your name. It's like going, okay, it's similar to what Joel said. I'm not going to be in this position. I just don't see it happening. My kids are small, and there's no way I can go out and do 40 right now. It's just not, doesn't work for my situation. So, maybe this is the year. I don't, and so looked at that Savannah contest, said, okay, there was a couple weeks in between there, and did that one, and then it was like, okay, I hadn't moved in the standings, but I didn't go down, and kind of just sat there. And it's like, okay, well, let's. So I've been taking it kind of 1 week at a time. It's kind of the way I've been looking at it. I've kind of learned that maybe that's not the way to look at the chase. I've kind of heard you kind of got to be all in, right? You're either all in or you're not, because everyone else in front of you is going to go cook every weekend. They're going for it, right? They're all in and they're going for it. And if you're not, you're not. That's okay. If I would have done well this last week or the week before, I might look at it differently. But I don't see running it the rest of the year. But and I'm okay with that, right? I think my goal was, hey, could I still make it in the top 10 at the end of the year or something like that? I mean, that is crazy. That sounds, cooking 10, 12 contests. I'd be super happy with that. Seeing where Slaps double this weekend. I mean, for everyone chasing him, I mean, that's, I think everyone was wondering if somebody was going to do something like that, and he did, and makes it that much more difficult for everyone else who might be going after it. So it's been fun. I've never really looked at the points that way at all. Never, as far as KCBS points, never looked at them as something to go after until this year. And then you start seeing the teams and people up and down and stuff. So for me, it was exciting. It kind of, it did kind of, at least for this season, look at it in a different way to say, man, I know there's teams behind me as of today that could still make a run for it. Smoke Me Silly won this week, and I think they're sitting at like 11th. Out with Chula's, every time out, he seems like he's in the top 5, and I don't know that he's got a lot of contests on his, on his list right now, so he could probably kick some out real. I don't know what he's got on there, but he could probably kick some out. So there's a lot. I mean, it's still going to be exciting. Last 4 weeks, I mean, it could be crazy if people are cooking every weekend.
Yeah.
Could be a lot of fun, and I haven't looked at really the individual categories either. So if there's something going on that I haven't done that. So I know Joel and talked about the pork there. I hadn't looked at the categories because I don't know that I haven't been hitting the ones and the twos. It's just been more consistent calls, which has kind of kept me in the mix overall. But I haven't looked at the categories. So, I mean, that's a whole nother thing where there's probably a whole nother group of teams in all 4 categories that are in the mix.
Well, it's interesting right now. If you look at it, DS Outlaws is, I think, winning pork and ribs, and 4 Legs Up is winning chicken and brisket right now. And I think BS Outlaws, I believe, is in 6th, 7th, somewhere around there. I don't remember where Kelly is. But they're in there. It's interesting. Joel said he noticed that it started with pork. He had the pork call, or the pork up high in pork, and that's what made him chase. And yours was in the overall. So This whole thing is crazy. But the other thing I want to talk about, we want to bring up a little bit, if y'all don't mind. Joel, you're from the Midwest, right? Sean, you're from the Southeast.
Yeah.
Those seem to be the 2 regions right now that have been able to hit barbecue hard, that have been able to go for it. What is the barbecue scene in the Midwest like right now, Joel?
I mean, there's been, we've actually done less traveling outside this year. Now, part of it was outside of the Kansas City area. Now, part of it was when we're going more, having some shorter trips home was super, super helpful. But we haven't had to we did that, like I said, that stupid Emmitsburg thing. And we went to Wyoming last weekend, and we went to Shawnee for that double that was the weekend that the American Royal should have been. But other than that, I mean, we've been able to stick fairly close to home a lot of times within a couple hours, which is awesome. And so it's actually after, I would say it probably took to mid-ish July before contests really started happening again. But once they did, there's two that I know of that have canceled that were kind of in this area, and they were one that's next weekend, and then one that was going to be this past weekend that we were going to go to before they canceled. So it's actually been pretty normal the last 2 months, let's say.
Yeah, Smiley. I thought where is Smiley? He's from near that area, isn't he? I thought you were up that west area.
Yeah, he's from Springfield, Missouri, which is Branson's little brother. If you know about Branson and kind of where it is, it's in that area. I'm sure he'll love that I said that. But and he comes up here when he's cooking. I don't think he's cooked since like 3 years ago, but he comes up to Kansas City quite a bit and does pretty well when he does.
Aaron Stouffer said 4 or 5 of the top 10 head-to-head every week in the Midwest. I feel like it's 4 or 5 of the top 10 are in the Midwest, and 4 or 5 of the top 10 are in the Southeast. It's really exciting to see how this whole thing is shaping up to be. I don't want to say Southeast versus Midwest because I don't want to get that whole thing started. Sean, you can, but
well, no, I mean, like you said, I think there's two kind of pockets of. It's just where the contests are falling this year. That the Midwest, the KC area, whatever. Well, plus it sounds like Wyoming and Oklahoma, so it might be a little broader. But with what Jason Hardy did with the Rufus Teague stuff, I mean, there was how many contests that'll end up being this year, and that's South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. Georgia's had a good group, a pretty standard amount. Maybe, lost a few, but pretty standard amount. So, you've got your, Donald at Who Cares and Rooters and Tutors and Smoke Me Silly and Hot Wachulas and there's probably folks I'm missing, so I apologize. But you're now running into those teams every weekend as well, so in this area. So at least if you're going after it. So it's kind of like the groups are in the mix. I imagine if you want to go for it, you're gonna butt heads with them in this area too right now. And I think that's the way Lions, it sounds like. I mean, correct, I don't know the team list, but that's what it sounds like for Lions, that they're all, I'm sure they're all going to be there this weekend.
Well, and the thing about this year, because there are so many teams that are in the hunt, so to speak, they can and they feel like they have to. There's a lot of guys, quite frankly, like me, that's like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to be this high in a category or let alone overall ever again. So let's go. And then next thing you know, you end up having, 25% of the field is the same every weekend. Yeah. Nobody's taking that week off where we wouldn't have cooked that much. We don't usually cook the weekend before the Royal just because the Royal's such a long week and everything else. Now, obviously the Royal canceled this year, but we were going to Shawnee. We were going further for a double, and we went ahead and cooked that week before because we needed to. We'd made that decision, and I think you have a lot of teams that have made that decision, whether they're chasing pork or chicken or ribs or whatever it might be. And so you're just seeing everybody go head to head and really kind of duke it out. And it's super exciting to me. Having been at, when we won 2 weeks ago, Chris took over. Chris got RGC. He jumped Joe, and then being up in Wyoming and seeing Joe knock 2 off. And I mean, I don't know that I thought at this point that anybody was going to get 150 points up on second place. I mean, because it's been so tight, and the guy just goes and is a machine and rattles off two GCs, 2 700s that were the only 700s in the contest. It's not like they were handing them out like candy. Brad has to be one of the more frustrated people right now, taking 2 RGCs to him, and having 2 great cooks as well. So I think you're seeing more of that going head to head and a lot of the same guys all together just because there's so many more teams in the hunt.
Yeah, it's fun. Where is the Mississippi contest? It says Chris Schaefer, Aaron, they're both going to be in Mississippi. What is the Mississippi contest this week?
It's called Roasts and Boasts, I think. I can't think of the city that it's in. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm sure.
I'm a fan of barbecue, right? So I'm a fan of this whole points chase and everything going on. So it's fun for me to watch, see where Angry Jack comes in, see where Rooters and Tutors, Man Meat, and Heavy Smoke, and then see if Slaps can go ahead and do their thing and get it right. So it's sitting there watching all this stuff and being able to be a fan of it and seeing it all go into fruition is so cool. And it seems to be every weekend there's 2 or 3 contests that you have to watch that everybody's in. Like the top 20 are cooking every week, and they're in 2 to 3 contests, and that's all you have to watch. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's I don't know. I thoroughly enjoy this whole thing. I've been watching it. So y'all keep it up.
Yeah. It's but unusual. I mean, like I said, for teams that cook who don't do 40, right? I mean, this is the year. I mean, so I to the extent that I can embrace it, I've tried to for that very reason. It's been exciting. I mean, just personally, it's been very exciting. That just for that reason. I'm always excited to get out and cook and enjoy it, and it's just been a little extra element that, on March 1st, it was not expected this year at all, right? Go cook your contest, looking forward to the Royal, the standard stuff, and so it's kind of given something outside of, those big events that kind of disappeared. It's been kind of a silver lining to what's been kind of a bizarre year.
Yeah. It's given us a little bit of normalcy for some of us. Not everybody's been able to do it. Like last week, talking to Luke Darnell with Over Your Smoke, he's like, I haven't been able to cook at all, and it's kind of one of those deals like, oh yeah, I mean, it brings you back to reality of how fortunate we are able to do this, and because Lee Hickle, I think he went down to wasn't he down there with you in Florida last week?
He was down in Florida, yeah.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy, right? Which is crazy. That's been also kind of the fun part. It's like just thinking back to Augusta to see the teams from Texas and all over the place. Again, as a cook, I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing the teams. That's part of what I like about a contest is seeing the teams you don't see every week. I think that Savannah contest. I think they said there was 13 states there at that one, so 40, whatever it was, 45 teams, whatever it was, but 13 states, which is, as a cook, that's fun. There's nothing wrong with seeing your group of friends but I think it's also fun to cook against folks you don't, which is part of the reason why I really enjoy the Royal. I mean, that's kind of the same kind of thing as you cook against a bunch of people you don't normally run into.
Yeah. Aaron Stouffer saying the same thing. He's saying the IBCA crossing over to KCBS. Yeah. What he's saying, the cooks just want to cook. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. I know my buddy Adam Gutra with Cajun Blade. He came down. I think he's just cook, right? I mean, he's just wanting to cook and do something. So he was down there too. But anyway, Joel, you look like you had something that you got some good information you wanted to give out right there.
No, I was just looking at my son, and he's being a goofball. So,
so real quick, while we got you, Joel, you're having a good pork year. What do you cook? What can you share on your what's going on with pork that's this year? What are you doing? If you just want to walk us through your recipe? I think I've seen it in the comments. I agree.
I mean, that's not a better way, Sean. There's a better way.
How about I just take my laptop out here and we just cook some pork?
That was tape. I got time.
So we're cooking Prairie Fresh pork butts. This was our third weekend or third contest, the second and third this weekend that we cooked their new USA Primes. I'm liking them pretty well. So that's a little bit of a newer product, but we were just cooking the Prairie Fresh all naturals before that. And we're injecting it with some smoky oaky products and then rubbing it on with I don't know if either any of you guys know Josh DeWitt with Scooby BBQ, but his rub is fantastic, and we sell it at the store that I work at part time, and I've been using that on it. And I guess we
four butts.
throw a bunch of 4 butts, yeah.
4
So
butts.
we 4 butts. We trim them down to 4. I don't go all the way to like the 4.01 or whatever that some people do, but it's usually 4 1/4 or so. And yes, so just like everybody else, I weigh them. It's it's one of those things. It's just that consistency of the way they cook that way is really, really fantastic.
Where do you purchase that? Gordon McRae wants to know where you purchase those that pork from.
So we are carrying it at KC Grilling Company, where I work part-time, and one of my sponsors. So that's where I've been getting it from. I would, wherever you find your Prairie Fresh, I would just hit up the reps there. I know they're still ramping up production, but find the meat manager or wherever you're buying your Prairie Fresh stuff. They should be able to get it. It may be a little bit of a lead time, because like I said, they're still ramping up the production.
Is it what's special about it, or is it just a marketing name?
So, it is a marketing name to an extent, right? But it's kind of their top 10% as far as marbling and things like that. One of the things that I've noticed, the money muscles have seemed to be a little bit longer. It's like you're getting a little bit more of, I don't know if it's that neck end or what have you, but you're getting a little bit of a longer money muscle than I was getting with just the regular all natural.
Is Prairie Fresh, is that more? So what do the cooks cook in that area? Is it a lot of Prairie Fresh? Is it Compart? Is it a little bit of both, or is it what are the?
It's a little bit of both. So Prairie Fresh and Compart seem to be kind of the most popular in this area. I'm sure there's some people still finding Smithfields. We used to cook Smithfields when they had the ET line, but those are the two that I hear the most about anyway.
Sounds like I need to get the Scooby rub.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's sweet, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. It's fantastic though.
So what does
get in touch with me? I'll get in touch with you. We need to carry that. Go ahead.
So what does you cooked a lot this year. So what does a contest week look like for you, Joel? Like what's your week look like? Like is it kind of consistent? Like, hey, when do you get product? When do you trim it? Kind of what's your week leading up to a contest?
Yeah. Oh, and one thing Aaron mentioned that I didn't. So I said the better marbling, but the fat caps on them, they have, I believe it's a 1/4 inch spec on that fat cap, so you don't have the kind of the gouging of your bacon that you have to contend with if you like to turn in that bacon meat as well. So that is, as somebody who does turn in bacon, it was something that was a huge selling point for me, because I don't have to try and figure out how to protect that. Week of. So we're a little old school, okay? And that we have 5 people. So we have me and my wife, and then 3 other guys, Scott, Josh, and Eric. And so I only have to trim one of the meats, which is amazing. I just trim the pork. So my week, Mondays, a lot of times is, doing the laundry to get from everything from the week before, doing the dishes, making sure that the trailer has everything kind of that it needs, and making a list. Tuesdays, a lot of times. So Tuesdays is drum cleaning night. So everybody comes over and we clean the drums.
So if you cook on drums, do you have to clean them after every contest?
You don't have to, but
you don't have to. You'd recommend it. The teams who are doing well are doing it cleaning them every week. All right.
Yeah, and you can tell a lot of times the people who don't, when they fire up their drums in the morning, it's real dirty, and it just, there's a smell that comes out of them, and you can tell. So the only time that we don't clean them is when we have a double. So we don't clean them in between days there. Yeah. I know some teams that clean them, maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. It works for them. Great. We go every week.
All right.
So that's Tuesday night, along with usually picking up any last minute things that we needed supply wise. Wednesday, excuse me. Wednesday, a lot of times I take that's my kind of not do a bunch of barbecue stuff night, and maybe we go out to dinner as a family, maybe we do whatever, right? But it's not super barbecue focused. And then Thursdays I'm making injections and rubs, or injections and sauces, and I'm loading the trailer and getting it ready to go, because a lot of times we will leave. We like to be out there. We usually will inject our big meats around 1. So if we can get there at 10, 11 o'clock so that we have time to get set up and get ready to go before that time comes, then all the better. So a lot of times we are leaving fairly early in the morning, even if it's a 30-minute drive to the north side of town.
Got it.
What else you got, Sean?
Trying to keep going. Okay, so I asked this question before to my friends from Hogline when they were on, Dustin when he was on last time, and it's a question as you have gone from getting some calls, right, to consistently getting more calls to now winning. What has changed? Like, what has changed on your end? And you can't say, I've been to a class. You can't say, nobody wants to hear the stuff that everyone says. If you
Nobody
can't give, well,
no, I got you. So
obviously
I'm going to ask Sean these same questions in just a second.
Yeah,
So
my headphones are, I can't hear you breaking up.
So
you know what I mean? You've turned the corner. You're starting to turn the corner, or
sure.
you're now, you got what, a 5th this last week. You're coming off a win. You got another 5th. So you're in the mix now, right? So what's
Right.
different? What's different than whatever it was a year ago, 18 months ago? So
a lot of it, I really think, is we're cooking more. I feel like we're in a better groove. There's not a ton of, oh my gosh, what, like, okay, now it's 8:30. What do we got to do at 8:30? Like, it's just, we know, and it almost just happens. The other thing, though, over time that has happened is when we started doing this, we were more of a party team. We like to go out and have a good, and we still do, as we always have a good time at the American Royal with you, Sean. We certainly are no strangers to having a drink and having a good time, but that good time ends at 10:30 now. It's not when I remember one time
when you run out of beer.
Well, I remember one time at a contest in Pleasant Hill, I don't know how one of our guys didn't set himself on fire. He was like it was a cold contest, and he was trying to sleep next to the fire pit to stay warm because we didn't have anything to sleep in at that time. We were sleeping under tents. This was a few years ago, and the way he kept inching his feet closer, he was in a sleeping bag, and I don't know how that sleeping bag didn't catch on fire. It was just, we were a show, man. And so we started taking it more serious and started working on it. And there's more practice in the off season than there used to be. Everything is more intentional, and everything has a reason that we do it.
So are you tweaking? Do you continue to tweak throughout the season, or do you kind of have your recipe and you're just running it every week? Or are you dialing? Are you listening? Are you talking to other teams about what they're using?
Yeah, we are. I would say so. Chicken has been something that we've struggled with for a little bit. We thought late last year, that we kind of had it figured out, and after COVID, it kind of stopped hitting again. So we've done a lot of talking with other teams, and it was probably Labor Day weekend, I think, we essentially completely changed our recipe. I mean, just changed everything. We were at the point that we're like, what we're doing isn't working. Let's try this. And that seems to have had a little bit of success for us. So, but I mean, we're still tweaking. We did something after the feedback that we got day one in Wyoming last year. We made a change. I don't think it's a change that we're going to stick with, but it appeared that they liked it quite a bit sweeter, like their food quite a bit sweeter than we were offering it. So we changed our chicken that day. That was the only one that we changed like that. But I mean, we ramped up the sweetness on it to try and get what they were after. It didn't work. Sunday was terrible, but I mean, we do try to listen to what the judges, especially in those doubles, because a lot of times your judges, while you're not probably going to hit the same exact judges, that group of people, their overall averages, right, are probably going to be about the same, because it's probably going to be the same people there. And so while you're hitting different judges, I feel like there's a better chance that their tastes are similar. And so we'll sometimes in those doubles, we'll take that feedback from day one. This is the first double that we've done of the non-moving doubles where we didn't do way better in day 2 than we did in day 1. And I think that's part of it. And like I said, it didn't work last week. Who knows? I don't know what the judges in Wyoming want. They liked our food when everything was tough. And then when we made it the elevation really messed with us because it's 5,000 feet above sea level, and had some issues getting things tender. Said we're not going to make got 5th, so great, but we're not going to make that mistake again tomorrow. Hit all of our marks exactly the way we wanted them, and they didn't do anything. So I don't know, but yes, that's a long way to answer. Yes, we do talk to teams, especially when something's struggling, and try and find some things to fix it.
Right on.
Awesome. Joel, you have the floor now to ask Sean whatever you want to ask him.
Okay, so I didn't love that last question, so I'm just going to turn it right back around on you. What have you done? I mean, I know obviously when we met, this would have been our 3rd year next to each other at the Royal had it happened. Is that correct?
It would have been.
So so about 3 years ago we met, and you guys were already doing well enough, right? I mean, you were in the Invitational, you'd had some GCs, you'd had some success. What was the key to kind of turning the corner for you?
Probably so two things I'd say. Number one, you're going to go broke scoring 8s on your score sheet. You may think that's a good number. You may be happy with it, but if you're getting 8s, you're going to be very poor very quickly. 8s aren't good enough, right? So you need to if you're not throwing up 999s, you're not going to win, right? So for me, it's a 4-meet contest, and all 4 have to be scoring. So I think I've mentioned before that early on, chicken was just starting. When I just started doing competitive barbecue, chicken was just awful, right? I got some tips. And then it was leading up to there was a tripling coming a few years ago. I think I cooked chicken 8 times between my last contest and then the triple. And that was kind of a turning point for chicken, right? The following year, I kind of focused on pork, right? So I've been chipping away one category at a time because you have to hit all 4. So I'm not saying you can't win. It can't be your day, but if you're going to consistently be in the mix, you have to consistently be scoring in all 4 categories. It's as simple as that. That's just the reality. And maybe different parts of the country are different. I'm sure the Midwest, the KC, I'm 100% confident that's the way it is. But in the Southeast, it's the same way. You have to have all 4. So I kind of committed myself to figuring out pork. I went to Rob and Lex's class, because they were doing well in pork, and I know people had taken their class were hitting on pork. So I went to their class and said, I'm gonna see what I can get from them, and then try to dial it in for something I like, and turn pork around. And then brisket was kind of always the last one for me, and kind of in the off season, the first part of this year, still trying to figure out what brisket looks like. And at this point, I feel, and that's probably the one thing that's changed this year, is that every contest out, I feel like the brisket, I'm going to be happy with the brisket I turn. It just doesn't feel as stressful in terms of what I'm looking for, and what the feel looks like, what the taste looks like. And sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't make me nervous the way it would have a year and a half ago. It's so that's the way it's been for me. Now, I think I'm leaking in other places now, like where I think chicken's kind of slipped and some other stuff has slipped. But that was that has been kind of my approach to it to a certain extent. But those would be kind of the couple nuggets that if you're watching and kind of trying to figure out is that 8s are not going to get it done, right? You're just, it's not good enough. So don't look at an 8 and say, man, I was really, it depends what you're looking for, right? If you want to win, an eight's not going to help you, and you got to hit it in all 4, right? So,
Sean,
put the time in where you're struggling. That's what I would say is, if you're trying to solve every problem at once, hey, if that works for you, great. I don't know that that's the approach I would take. I would kind of focus where we think you're weak and ask questions and reach out and take them one at a time.
Did you change your mind? So it sounds like what you did you had a mindset change. Instead of anything else, you just changed your mindset going into a contest of, hey, I'm going to go cook. Whatever happens. You are now saying, my 4 categories are good. You got to beat me cooking 4 good categories.
That's right.
At what point in time did that mindset change for you? When did you have that confidence that you knew?
Probably not till the spring, honestly. I think I started end of last year, started getting, finished on a decent run of, I don't know what I had, 3 RGCs in the last 3 or 4. And I didn't necessarily feel like I was turning 4 good categories. And then, whatever, the spring, maybe 3rd or 4th contest, sipping swine around then is when it was, the cutting board just started looking different. When it came time to start cutting and processing and getting stuff in the box, it just started, it's hard to explain. For a team coming up, you have to start getting some good calls to know. And that's kind of the unfair part is, until you start getting some high calls, it's hard to know what you're shooting for. And then once you start getting them, you got to start banking that information and kind of keep going back to it. And so then it kind of feeds itself. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but
so here's what I'm hearing, and you tell me if you're wrong. And Joel, you can lead into this. It sounds like there's a progression into competition barbecue. When you first start out, you're just trying to get that call, right? And then once you get the call, you're like, hey, I want to get a high call in a certain category. And then once you get those big calls, then it's turned into, okay, I know I'm going to do that. Now I've got to go from just trying to get 1 or 2 good calls to how am I going to get 4 categories? I know, Sean, we talked about this before, but Matt with Boomerang was on the other day, and he's like, I can't chance trying to win a category if it's going to kill me in a category.
His, and I think I mentioned that to you. His burn end comment, I thought, was he phrased it, I think, the perfect way, right? And it's the way that you kind of got to look at it is, I could put a burn end in the box and go for that 180, right? And you can also get that 167, and you're done. Your day is over, right? So, what do you look at? What's your goal for the day, right? To get a 180 in brisket or to win the contest? Because totally agree. I'll take a 175 in brisket all day long, every contest, and don't turn into burn end and never risk that. And that's absolutely the way it is. You can swing for the home run, or you can swing for 4 175s, and you'll probably do pretty well.
I remember Jackie Price telling me, if you get a 175 in 4 categories, you're pretty much going to win the contest.
It's going to be a good day.
So, what were you going to say, Joel?
I was just going to say I hadn't seen that show, and that is extremely well put. I was reading in a Facebook group earlier tonight, and a guy was, new to contest, getting ready. He's going to do his first one next year, all that stuff that you see all the time. And he's asking about if he could use an Alabama white sauce on his chicken, and everybody's obviously trying to say, please don't do that. But that's the kind of thing too, right? I mean, and that's different. That's going to be white sauce. Obviously, is very polarizing, but you can't get a 10, right? So do what can get you a 9, which to what Sean was speaking to, that's what you got to have. Why are you gonna I guarantee you, if you go outside the box and you try to do like a teriyaki sauce on your brisket or something there might be a judge or two that is like, oh my gosh, this is different and this is the best thing ever and it's amazing. But you're not going to get enough. It's not going to be enough. And you know what? There's guys out there that they want to just they just want to present present the judges what they believe is the best plate or box of barbecue. Fine, but if you want to win, you're going to have to find a way to come up with some middling barbecue.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy the other day. One of our customers called in. He said he turned in chicken tenders, breast chicken tenders, grilled chicken. He's like, man, they're not grilled. He smoked them. He's like, they're really good. And my first thought is why, but then, I mean, it's almost like you have two different groups out there right now. Some that are really trying to go for the wow factor, and then others that are like, hey, just cook what's going to score and don't chance it. And I would be willing to bet that most of our top teams that are commenting on here, watching on here, you two, that y'all are cooking, you wouldn't take that risk, correct?
No way.
No, not at all.
Joel's look is like, what in the world?
And look, and as somebody who's had, like I said, we had some struggles with chicken. We talked about, and shame on me. I was even maybe a little on the side of doing wings with the thighs. I know, there's been a couple of really good cooks that have put out there that they've played around with that some. Exactly how successful they've been when they've done that, I don't know. But, I mean, I get it when things aren't going the way you want and you're almost like reaching for answers. And my wife was like, that's probably not, probably shouldn't do that. I was like, oh, well, let's cook them and try it, and knowing in the back of my head, right? Like, I'm going to try to get these things in the box if we cook these things. But, that goes it would have been a good idea.
We've had this discussion on a chicken cook, right? When we've done this, it's like, are you going to turn in the white meat along with the thighs or legs? And you have people all the time like, yeah, if I can get those. Hey, I mean, it gets back in that whole debate. And Joel, I'll ask you, since you're a pork guy, and I think I know the answer just by the way you say you trim your meat. How many different types of pork are you putting in your pork box?
Usually, always 2. Sometimes we will do 2 rows of money muscle or things like that, depending on how they all turn out. But it is always just pulled in money muscle.
And you're not trying to overload that box with as many products as much as possible.
No, because I want, so I feel like almost, and I know technically you don't have to, right? I mean, and there's teams that do well when they get 4 money muscles that are amazing and they turn in a box of all money muscle. For the most part, for us mere mortals, you almost got to turn in slices and pulled. And then you can get fancy with some chunks or, what have you, some different plugs from different areas of the butt. But the more that I put in there, the less of a chance that I really know why that 7 happened or why that 8 happened. Generally speaking, when I turn that box in, I can say, if we get hit, we're going to get hit on the money muscle today, or we're going to get hit on the pulled today. It was a little too sweet. It was a little too spicy, whatever. You put 3, 4. I've seen not a lot of entries, but I've seen boxes with a lot of different options for pork. And I mean, how do you ever fix it at that point? Because you don't know what's wrong.
That's what I've always wondered. Sean, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think I mentioned this in the past that for pork it's money muscle in chunks, right? And some days there's 6 chunks in there, right? Now you try to put them in there where it looks somewhat full and not totally bare or empty, but if it's a bad, that's again something that probably I've gotten better over the last couple of years of kind of the gaming the cook, gaming it, like where it may not be a good day, right? I'm just thinking back to Savannah. I thought the pork was terrible, right? But go back to that comment from the last couple of weeks, the last 15 minutes in that trailer, what can you get something out of it, and that's, that kind of goes with just cooking more and everything else and competing more, that making something out of nothing, putting in the best few pieces you can that's a legal entry and take your chances on it. Because again, I can't speak to other parts of the country, but you're not going to fool people down here. If you try to fill up that box and bury a bunch of bad stuff in there, you'll be surprised how they'll find all the bad pieces, and you'll be kicking yourself.
They go hunting for them.
What's that?
It's like they're looking for the bad piece. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm sure there's judges out there. I mean, that, like, if they see one that might look a little off, they're gonna reach for it. But sometimes it's like, man, we turned in 10 ribs and 2 of them were bad. And they were like, second, on the bottom, and like, how did you find those? Yeah.
If brisket isn't, maybe it didn't quite get it just far enough. It's, I'll usually put 7 slices in there, right? And make it, fan them out to kind of fill it up, but they're not going to get 8. They're not going to get 9. They're not, it's going to be a legal entry in that, and keep your fingers crossed that they like it, that you got 7 good ones, So again, you might be cooking a 20-pound brisket. You don't got to put 20 slices in there. You got to put 6. Oh. So put your best 6 in there. Don't think about it. Think about what you're putting in, right?
Right. Well, and think about if you think that box, whether it's whatever it is, right? I mean, say, you've only got 6 bones that are any good in your ribs, right? And maybe they really look bad for whatever reason if you try to, marry those slabs together, and you go 3 and 3, right? I mean, that box looks pretty empty, but if you get an 8 in appearance there, that's better than them getting that terrible rib and getting a 7 or an 8 in taste, because you're only getting docked really, about a half a point there versus, what is it, 2.5 on the taste points. So don't give them that one that's going to cost you 2.5. Take the half point hit and move on.
I would, again, that's the perspective that anyone starting out needs to listen to. That is that as much as we all as cooks, I think we're all OCD on appearance, right? I think we all are, right? Trying to make it look perfect. At the end of the day, though, it's so minor in compared to the taste score. So, but that's a hard mental battle to kind of work through.
Yeah, of course it is.
So I got a question. I'm gonna change directions real quick. It's getting late in the show, so not as many people. Whatever. There's still a good amount of people watching, but I'm gonna ask you two a question. Y'all are chasing points for the first time, and before you probably never really thought about it that much, but now you're getting more invested in the points chase. How has the judging changed throughout the year, and can you tell of anything that's going on with judging in the tents right now? Because that seems to be a lot of what I hear about. And please don't bash judges. I'm not asking you to bash judges, but what are you seeing? And Joel, I'll start with you in the Midwest. What are you seeing judge-wise that's going on?
I think it's a lot of inconsistency, and I don't think so. I mean, we have had a few contests that have had some issues getting 100% CBJs. I think that the whole COVID, if you look at who a lot of, at least in the Midwest, who a lot of our judges are, we're not bringing in a lot of new young judges. There's a lot of people that maybe should stay home. I mean, I'm not trying to make any statement one way or the other on anything, but people that are more susceptible and at higher risk for things, right? I mean, we love to say that barbecue is a sport, but I'm not actually being an athlete when I'm out there cooking, burning meat in a parking lot and drinking beer. You know, I mean, it's not that. We're not in peak physical form anymore. That's why we started doing this instead of playing actual sports. So I think that the pool is smaller this year. And so they're having to basically give people just the Reader's Digest version of how to judge, and that's leading to a lot of inconsistencies. At the beginning, so in July, even a little bit of August, when it was doing that, I was chalking that up more to judges were rusty from quarantine and from shutdown and everything, just like cooks were. So we're probably not cooking as consistently. You're probably not judging as consistently. And we all just got to work it out. That hasn't happened so much. So, we can go 100 different ways on this, but I think that it will work itself out once we're able to get back to more of a quote unquote normal year. That doesn't mean that everything will be fixed, but it'll get back to what it was in 2019.
Okay. Blaine has a beef with your not being an athlete. Blaine Hunter, very much an athlete. Very much
yeah.
So.
Yeah. What's the definition of athlete? Yeah. Right.
I mean, I think
I am if I can tell my doctor that going to these barbecue competitions is me playing a sport and being active, I'm in. Like I will listen to that argument 100% of the time.
That's awesome. Sean, what do you think about because here I've heard in the past, I've heard throughout, there's a lot more judges that haven't been able to cook that are coming in. Also, just like Sean, you were talking about cooks coming from all over the country going to different contests. I'm hearing that there's judges from all over the country coming and judging contests that they've never done. But give me your take on what you're seeing right now.
I mean, I've heard that. So by and large, I don't complain too much about the judging because I think as somebody said earlier, the cream always rises, right? It's best teams always win. The best teams always win the big events, all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, I think it all balances out. We've all had a contest. We've all gotten a sheet where there's been some stuff where you just kind of doesn't make sense. But I have heard. I've heard a couple different times that I don't know if it was the Papa Joe's or whatever it was, where there wasn't one judge from Georgia at a Georgia contest at the table, right? So there were judges traveling in, and so that's a dynamic that I don't. Again, as a cook, I think I mentioned this to somebody. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to prepare for that or plan for that. You just cook your best food and you take chances, and the best teams are probably going to win. But I have heard that there's been a lot of judges from different parts of the country coming in to judge. For like you said, for the same reason you're getting cooks from all over the country. If you're a judge and you love doing it, you're willing to travel to go do it, and you're going to, get in that sign up early and get in. And again,
so you're not neither one of y'all are changing your game plan because of that.
No.
Good.
I don't know what you'd be.
And then here's the next question.
Chasing a ghost. I don't know what you.
Mitchell brought this question. This is going to be my next question. So thank you, Mitchell, for bringing this up. The other thing that we have heard or I've heard is the time you turn that box in to when it gets judged is considerably longer, from my understanding. I don't know, longer than it.
I'll jump in there because I'd heard that as well, and I think it's probably gotten in my head the last two contests. To be honest with you, beginning of the year, I never thought again, cook your cook, turn your stuff in. The best teams are going to win. And, I think the last few contests I've been struggling more. And so I've been thinking about, oh my God, they got to, hey, how long, I'm hearing that brisket's getting turned in and we're just getting pork entries to sample. So you start thinking about how long it's been sitting there. Right. And so then as a cook, I'm going, oh man, I got to work extra hard to keep it super hot or warm
The
or
flavor.
whatever, right? And then you start trying to figure something out that you didn't worry about when things were going well, but now all of a sudden you're thinking about. So I have heard that. It is what it is. And for me, I think it's probably been messing with my noodle the last couple of contests, and can't worry about it.
Joe, what do you think?
Well, so I try to just control what I can control. Okay. And I can't, whatever's happening after I set that box on that tray, I can't control. So I'm going to do everything I can to put it in the box as hot as it can be. I'm going to do everything that I can to, I'm going to carry it in a carrier, even if it's 100 degrees outside, right? Because I want to keep it as hot as possible. I mean, I get all the sides and the top and everything, but my wiping down with a Lysol wipe or whatever is pretty dang quick. On pork, it has to be usually, because we were like this weekend in that double, we were the last person to turn in pork both days. I mean, that's just how long our pork takes. But we are going to do everything we can to get it there, and then because that's all I can control. Maybe is a brisket box sitting there for a half an hour before the judge tries it? Maybe, but I can't fix that. And the guy next to me, his box is sitting there too. So I'm just trying to make the best of it and do what I can.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I was talking to Paul from Rooters or it was Robert this weekend it was about this subject. And it's like, do you try to cook your barbecue a way to know that's going to be cold, right? Do you try to cook and turn it in for a judge that's going to sample cold barbecue? And it was, that's what I mean. I kind of, paused like, man, maybe I need to. And then it was,
They got you.
It did. It just got me.
But we all know that.
Because it's all, because you hope 4 tables and 4 turn-ins by, maybe one of your entries is, and maybe your other 3 go out right away and get sent, so I going back to what Joel said, just control what you can control, and the rest hopefully will even itself out.
That's great. That's great advice right there, because we get in our heads so easy. James Park, he's from Australia, judge in Australia. Do you think barbecue judging is being promoted enough?
I'll let you go first, Sean, because this might surprise you based on how talkative I am. I have thoughts.
I do not have thoughts on this. I would say, Brian, at a future show, get a few judges. As far as the whole judges side goes, no clue what goes on there. I hear snippets after a contest or, whatever. So, Joel, floor is yours.
So, no, I don't think it's being promoted enough. I think we need to do everything we can to bring in newer, younger judges that are going to be around and everything. And God, I don't want to sound like I'm saying older people shouldn't be judges. I'm not saying that at all. They are some of the best and most dedicated judges that KCBS has. But nobody's here forever. And we have to have some sort of people to be the next set of old judges. You have to be a young judge. So I think we need to promote that and be bringing in more judges, and then we can go to some other things, but there can be some other things to ensure that we're getting more consistent judging around the country. The fact that if you look at scores every week, in a score in Pennsylvania, you might win a contest with a 685. You're not even in the top 10 in Kansas City with a 685. And that's a problem. And those people aren't cooking worse food than us, and we're not cooking better food than, we're cooking better food than them. No, but those judges have been trained differently. And so now I would assume a team in Pennsylvania gets a 700 sticker, and they didn't think they might ever get that. And while they don't hand them out like candy around here, I mean, every every other contest there's one, maybe, I mean, like on average. So there's certainly a lot more. I also think we need to promote younger cooks and find a way to bring younger cooks in, because that will keep the sport growing and that will keep adding contests and not losing contests like we've seen. So yes, I think we should promote judges more, but I think we should promote barbecue more and promote bringing more people in, however you want to participate.
I think that's a great answer. Right? I mean, politically correct answer. Good. I like it. And I couldn't agree more. I think there needs to be, more things going on to promote, barbecue. There's been a couple Netflix shows going on here lately with, you've got the Chef's Table, and then you have the barbecue, the thing that Tina Cannon just won. That has, that kind of stuff, I think, doesn't do anything but help our sport. I mean, I know a lot of people got into barbecue because of one TV show, right? That was a show that most people you talk to from 10 years ago, that's how they got into it. Wow. You know what I need to do? I need to see if we can't get somebody from KCBS on one of our shows in the near future and have a show about that. Aaron Steffer talks about continuing education. So maybe what I'll try and do, Sean, you've asked me multiple times to do this, and I will see if I can get onto it, is see if I can't get in touch with somebody from KCBS and have it be I'm one that wants to support all things barbecue. I want to build it up. Joel, if you've ever seen, I love talking backyard barbecue. I think backyard is huge, and I also believe that kids' queues are big things. I feel like every contest should have a kids' queue, no matter what. I know Sean's kids, I think they get 180s every time they go out and cook. But it is what it is. It's just it makes barbecue fun. So it's a good thing, because I think everybody in barbecue wants to see barbecue excel. That's what we're all in this together. We all love it. We all want to see barbecue do well. And I think for most part, I can speak for the Southeast. Sean and I are in the Southeast. I do see there are new teams coming in, and there are new things happening here. I don't know what's going on in the Midwest as much, but we're seeing there has been turnover. There has been some teams that aren't cooking anymore, but they've been replaced, I want to say, with other stuff. So,
well, hey, I would just, as a plug, go back and, I mean, the high school with Tom
Kelly.
If you're watching tonight and you haven't gone back and seen that episode, go back and watch that. I thought that was fantastic, and that's the stuff that gets me excited. I mean, what Tom's doing in the high school, just in a broader picture, all the high school stuff. There's a real avenue there that I think is just untapped, that could be the future, or at least a big part of the way to help it grow the sport, hobby, whatever you want to call it. It's exciting stuff. And then we all know, at least in this part of, when Tom and the high school, when the Pit Vipers go out and do well, it's exciting. It's awesome because they're out there. He brings the little Tool of the Falls bus out. It's great. So, we're all pulling for him. And I tell you what, if there was a few more Pit Viper teams out there, that would be awesome. And that, those of us who cook on a somewhat regular basis are there to help and support them in any way we can. So,
yep.
We're always willing to donate time and whatever to help those guys get going. And I've heard stories in other parts of the country where people are doing the same, donating equipment, doing whatever to help some of those programs get off. So it's pretty awesome.
So that's awesome. Aaron, if you can get in touch with Emily and David, feel free to, I could reach out to them, or if anybody knows them, I'd love to talk to them. They probably don't know who I am, but hey, whatever, we'll get them on the show. We'll talk about it and have a good conversation. Because Sid, I know COVID has definitely stunted the barbecue growth, but as I was talking to Sean here in Georgia, I think it's an opportunity for us to solidify a foundation and move forward and grow and do things and grow beyond where we are right now. But yeah, Aaron, yeah, you're right. Some people have stepped aside and say how much money they saved, and other people said, you know what, I sure do miss it. And it is what it is. But anyway, Sean, we have, first of all, I came on late, and now I'm keeping us on a long time. So Sean and Joel, I apologize, But I always want to give everybody an opportunity to have a finishing thought. So, Joel, I want to give you an opportunity to either finish thought, what you can do to help other people out. But go ahead, you got the floor, bud.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm always willing to help anybody reach out to me on Facebook at either Meet Rushmore Barbecue or just Joel Fleetwood is my name for my personal deal. Send me a friend request, whatever. I mean, I'm willing to help as much as I can for people. But I think my what I try to get across when I'm talking barbecue is as long as we're all pulling in the same direction, right? I mean, we might have different views on how to solve whatever problem it might be, whether it's judging, whether it's cooks, I mean, there's some cooks out there that are jerks, I mean, most of them aren't, but I think we've all met one or two. It's whether it's recruiting new younger people to whatever, be pulling in the same direction and in the right direction. And now we can have a conversation about what the best way is to go forward. And there are complicated issues that are facing us right now. COVID was part of it because that's thrown everything out of whack. There's just a lot of other things in the organization, and I think the current board has done a lot to help with that. But these are complicated situations that it is worthwhile having a conversation from two people who think of maybe some different solutions. So let's just pull in the same direction, and we'll get where we want to go and where we need to go. So yeah, I mean, again, reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. We have some Twitters, but it's not, I don't know, it's never in my head to even do it. So reach out if you have any questions or anything. Always like to thank our sponsors, Casey Grilling Company, Smoky Okies Food Products, and Scooby BBQ and Royal Oak Charcoal. So thank you to them. And yeah, thank you, Brian, for having me on the show. It's been fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Joel. Sean?
Everything that Joel said. Let's see. Contest, Georgia, November 20th, steak, Friday night, Cumming Fairgrounds. If you know the area, it's a good spot. It's a good location, easy in, easy out. I don't know how many contests are going on in November. I know there's one in Kansas. I think the week before in Kansas City is the big one. So the following weekend, if you want to come out to Georgia, it's to raise money for the Georgia Barbecue Championship. So whatever money comes in goes back out to teams, plus the state cook-off, if that's your thing. Coming out to it. Go like Angry Jack Barbecue on Facebook. I probably don't have enough likes or whatever I'm supposed to say there, right? Like the page and click the bell and ring the button or something. So go do that.
Cody, that is the November 20th?
November 20th.
November 20th.
Cumming, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. Otherwise, that's it. You guys can always reach out to me. I know that people from time to time, privately, I'll probably share way more than I would publicly. So if you do have a question, I'm always happy to help, because it helps when people are having success, right? Because if you're not having success, you're probably not going to be in this hobby too long. So I'm always willing to share what I can. So don't hesitate to reach out. And good luck, good luck to all the teams who are going for it, get it done, beat each other up from here on out. It's going to be exciting. So hopefully there's some more fireworks in the coming weeks. I'd love to see it. I mean, I'd love to see a crazy finish to the year. That's what we got, as far as I'm concerned, that's what we got for the rest of the year until the Royal and the Jacks and those things come back next year. I guess we got a points chase to kind of keep our eye on. So
awesome.
It's a good one.
Well, thank you. Thank y'all so much for coming on. Enjoyed a great show. Sean, thank you for helping me get everything together tonight. You're awesome. Appreciate it. Joel, really nice meeting you. Hopefully I'll be able to see you soon. And guys, y'all have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week. Next week we got Brian Crawford coming on with all his product. You know, he just won the world's the American Royal, the best rub in the world or whatever it was. So come on tomorrow next week, and we'll talk more barbecue. Y'all have a great night. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you, Joel. See you. See you, brother.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Brian.
Hey, Joel.